Baffled by technology again. Technology 1, Mary 0.
Sorry, YouTube. That was my bad. Speaking of which, if you are watching on YouTube, please subscribe. We need people to subscribe. You don't ever have to come back to the channel again. That's fine. And if you want to subscribe just to write horrible, nasty things to us and make terrible comments, that's cool too. That's cool too. See, look, subscribe to my YouTube page right there, please.
Comment why I'm a dum-dum for wearing orange, apparently.
You didn't know that?
I think now I think about it, I think orange was the opposition.
Yes, the orange is the Protestants, the green is the Catholics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just wearing tie-dye because I'm a funky weirdo, but
and you got the wrong colors on.
I'm just red.
The wrong colors on. Look at this. What's wrong with James wearing orange? So, Bill, if you ever listen to the Irish Rover song, the orange and the green, that's what the wars were in Ireland over the orange and the green, the orange being the Protestants and the green being the Catholics.
Yeah, this is peace stuff. I'm bringing everybody together with this shirt. See all the colors of the rainbow. I'm bringing everybody together.
So one St. Patrick's Day years ago, probably, well, not 10 years ago, but, a good 8 years ago or so, our friend from England, one of our friends from England, he was very high up in the RAF, right? He was like, at the time, like 2 below David Cameron, like he was up there. And we never really knew what he did. And we had no idea how important he was until he was here for a year as the British liaison to the Joint Chiefs. And so he was in Virginia with his wife. And so he was in there. So on St. Patrick's Day, I told him, I go, here's the deal. I said, it's St. Patrick's Day in the US is different than St. Patrick's Day in like Ireland and England because it's a religious holiday there in Ireland, right? So it's a little different here. Here, it is just a day for cultural appropriation and to drink because we reinforce stereotypes. I said, do not wear orange into a bar, number one. And number two, if anybody asks if you're British, just tell them you're Irish. Drunk Americans won't know the difference.
Good plan. Smart plan. Nothing like wearing orange and saying you're British to an Irish bar.
Yeah, on St. Patrick's Day.
On St. Patrick's Day, yeah.
On St. Patrick's Day, yeah. So, Bill, that's why you don't wear orange on St. Patrick's Day.
Better?
Oh, yes, much better. See, me too. Look at this. Yeah. I thought ahead.
Now
my poor husband's God, he does everything for me because I can't walk. So he's running around. He's got a Coast Guard meeting to go to. He's running around trying to pour me a beer. And as he was picking, he was like, so in front of the fireplace here, it has this old metal fender, which is that thing that comes out so it keeps you away from the fire, right? Back in the day. And it's this big, huge metal thing. He was picking it up so I don't kill myself. Look at the chunk he took out of the wall.
Oh, good looking chunk.
Yeah, he's not happy because it's a plaster wall. So this is
no good.
No, Moss. He's very upset. He's not happy at all about that. So it's very hard to find people who do plaster work. So he's probably just going to Gorilla Glue it back into the wall.
Everything, isn't
it? Because I don't think, because there's a bunch of pieces missing. I don't think it's going to go back too easily. Oh, you never know. So anyway, so that's that. All right. So let's start out with some news. So last week when we were doing the show, we got notified by Paul that Jussie Smollett had been sentenced to go to jail, right? Like we got that. Jussie's going to jail. Justice for Juicy. Well, apparently he's not. He was in for a week, and I'm sure you saw the story, but an Illinois appellate court let him out of custody last evening, after 2 appeals court judges agreed that his 150-day jail sentence should be put on hold while his appeal is pending.
So he's not out.
He's not out. I guarantee you watch, he walks. I guarantee he walks. No way he's going to jail.
You're right.
He's friends with the Obamas. It's not happening. That's why. It's not happening. And yet, if you happen to be in the Capitol on January 6th, if a Capitol police officer was holding the doors open and you got pushed in with the crowd and you walked around, took a couple pictures and left, you've been sitting in jail for over a year now because you're a terrorist and a danger to society, so they can't let you out. Where is this? His probation is ridiculous. He can go anywhere he wants. He doesn't have to let them know, and he doesn't have to show up for any probation hearings. He can do them on the phone. But I would think his career is crap now, right? Like he has no career now because everybody thinks he's guilty. I know even black people think he's guilty.
He definitely has no career. His career is definitely done.
Right.
Yeah.
What's he gonna do? Celebrity wrestling?
Yeah, he'll do a lot of D-list stuff, really embarrassing stuff.
There's a show, I don't know if you saw, we got sucked into it last night, and it's because we were joking about D-list celebrities, and then they had some pretty good names on there, a lot of football players, and I don't know the names, but I recognize the names of the football players. Jodie Sweetin from Full House, remember her?
Yeah.
So they had all these people on this, and they put them in the Amazon, and they raise money for charity.
Right.
So that's why they're doing it. But, and it's not like Survivor, because when they got there, they had lean-tos built already for them to do a lean-to.
Sure.
And they had, thank
Look at that head.
you.
Highlights the alumni for you.
Look at my hubby.
Bye.
Bye, honey. My Villanova alumni mug, all ready for the game.
All right, so as an official beer podcaster, which, by the way, I'm usually the dum-dum on most beer podcasts, I did the other day where I was the smart person. So what are you drinking? I need to know.
Is this Doug Yingling?
What?
Is this Blue Moon?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Blue Moon.
Still in good standards.
It's usually Blue Moon or Yingling. It's one or the other.
Yingling
We like Yingling, good American company.
is still a craft beer and still a quality beer.
Yeah.
I get credit for that, but I love the Yingling.
Yeah, I ate the orange that we had that I could have put in here, but I ate that today, so there's no orange for my beer. So, a good Hefeweizen on an Irish holiday, because I don't like Guinness. So I could do a Smittix, but I don't like Guinness. So anyway,
Sorry.
Jussie, he still has to serve 30-month probation while he goes through the courts. So he's serving the 30 months while his appeals can take over a year.
Yeah.
So he's serving his probation, which doesn't impede his life at all.
No.
You wouldn't get that deal. You wouldn't get that deal. I wouldn't get that deal, but they let him out because he's not a violent person. He's not a violent offender. There are grandmothers who sat in jail because of January 6th who weren't violent offenders, who had zero any kind of criminal history. But they sat in jail because they were considered dangerous, because they're traitors and they're insurrectionists, and Nancy Pelosi doesn't like them. They support the wrong candidate.
If you don't have no conditions for leaving the state and you don't have to report anywhere, you're not on probation.
It's ridiculous. But he has to report by phone. He has to report by phone.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't have to report anywhere. You don't have to show up to a building. So he can call by phone from Guam and go, "Hey, here I am." He's no restriction.
I thought you meant legally he's not on probation.
Yeah, I'm saying you're not really on probation. You're on probation, but he can call from anywhere in the world and go, "Here I am, Joe. Here I am checking in." I can check in from anywhere. What kind of crap is that? He doesn't have an ankle bracelet, so they don't know what he's doing or where he is. He's calling on the telephone going, "Hey, Joe, here I am. Here's my weekly check-in or monthly check-in or whatever dumb nonsense they told him he's got to do."
So, and he also has to pay more than $120,000 in restitution, but that money is not due for 30 months, the same length of the probation period. So that could be after the appeals go through, after the appeals process.
Now that's a pretty tough bit to come up with when you're a loser and don't have any, real work coming up. So I don't know how he's going to come up with that money. He's going to definitely have to find some D-list stuff or make some porn or something.
Well, maybe he saved money. Maybe he actually didn't spend all his money. Maybe he saved it.
You hope those Subway commercials did good or something.
Wouldn't that be funny if Subway hired him?
Yeah.
Sandwich is so good, I beat off 2 attackers with them. Sandwich is so good, I go out at 2 a.m. for them. He had to sign a $150,000 recognizance bond, but he didn't have to post any money. It's insane.
Just gets better and better, doesn't it?
It does. So his lawyers are going on double jeopardy because the original case, remember, was dropped by Kim Fox. Remember, nothing
Yeah.
to see here, dropped, and then a special counsel, a former appellate judge, put a special prosecutor in to determine if he should be charged again. And so he was brought up on new charges, the judge invalidated the entirety of the first prosecution and everything that went along with it because of Kim Fox, who, by the way, zero repercussions for her actions. Zero. And I'm pretty sure, I think she got reelected, didn't she? I think she did.
I believe that.
Yeah, I think she did. It's Chicago.
Yeah.
So they're trying to say that, oh no, this is double jeopardy. But the judge did invalidate everything having to, the entire first trial, everything. And so the state now is saying, no, it's not. That's not it. So we'll see what happens. Guarantee you, he doesn't serve a day after. I mean, he served what, a week? That's it.
Yeah.
Not even 6 days. 6 days.
Stuff.
Okay. Oh, speaking of which, let's go. Oh, here's some more. You want to talk about that? So, they're prosecuting Steve Bannon in connection with January 6th, because anyone who had anything to do with Trump, they're going after his kids, they're going after January 6th. Nancy Pelosi has deployed Capitol Police to satellite offices around the country. By the way, illegal, because the government is not allowed to have a federal police force. Except for Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats. They can have one and spend our tax dollars doing this to get all those horrible insurrectionists and round them up around the country. So that's what she's doing.
Hey, I'm gonna pop out of frame for a minute and fix something. But go ahead, keep talking. Go ahead.
Oh, because of Phil? Phil said your video is not smooth. All right, there you go. But James himself, smooth.
Silky smooth.
Oh, he's still there in voice. Ooh. All right. Okay, so listen to this. So they're going after Steve Bannon. Federal prosecutors going after him for contempt of Congress because he wouldn't testify in front of the January 6th committee, and he said on the advice of his counsel that he not going to he wouldn't testify on advice of his counsel. So federal prosecutors yesterday in court revealed that they didn't get any approval from a higher ranking DOJ official before they decided to spy on his lawyer. Why? Because he's part of the opposition. He's not part of the party. He's opposition of the party. So they they just spied on his lawyer, attorney Robert Costello. And they also wound up targeting, mistakenly, a number of other Americans who had the same name of Robert Costello all across the country.
Yeah,
private information scooped up.
We'll just see whichever one happens to be him. We'll check on them all.
But they know which one he is. They know which one he is. U.S. District Judge Carl Nichols repeatedly asked prosecutors why they thought it was okay, or even relative, to secretly gather a log of defense attorney Robert Costello's private phone calls, text messages, and emails. Can you believe that? The judge said what's unique here is that the government didn't just go get regular records. Why is that an appropriate move? So the judge ruled that the government has to turn over the phone records requests and the phone records themselves for him to review privately. That includes information the DOJ got from Comcast, Google, and Yahoo. So you have no rights. They're just trampling all over them. You have no rights.
Yeah, I'm never shocked.
Nope. He said the behavior of the FBI and, quite frankly, the DOJ has been outrageous. This is Steve Bannon. It said that to me, my attorney-client privilege. Everything that was in the background of this, everything that went to the grand jury, everything should come out. The media ought to have, the American people should have access to all the information about this. It's in your interest and it's worth fighting for. So a lot of this stuff that was obtained illegally was presented in front of a grand jury, which is how they got the indictment against Steve Bannon. This is what they do. Amanda Vaughn is the lead prosecutor, and in court, it said, we never sought the content of any communications. She said the DOJ said it sought toll records. That's who Costello was calling or writing to and when he did so. So like the text messages would come out as a log, texted James, texted Doug, texted Maria, texted Susan, texted, that's how that's what they would get.
They're
Or
just
those
saying
people
they're
texted
looking
me.
at people. They're not looking at the content of calls or the text, just who they were.
Well, that's what they say, but the
Right.
judge now wants to see all that.
Okay.
But still, that's not legal because he's allowed to call his lawyer.
Right.
Apparently, they were trying to figure out whether he really did rely on his attorney's advice when he refused to testify before the January 6th committee in October. I don't know how he has the right to talk to. You don't know what he talked to. How are they going to? Let me start again. How would they get that information by just seeing that he called his attorney on certain days? How would they how would they know that?
Privileges. Oh, yeah, he really was getting advice of his lawyer. Yeah, that sounded like good advice. All right, guess what?
Right. I don't understand how just finding out that he called his attorney or talked to his attorney or texted his attorney tells them what they want to know. They would have to know the content of those texts and those phone calls in order to find out.
Mary, look, I trust the government's only using this information for good because they have our best interest in heart. I've always felt the government uses our information for the good because, they've always been looking out for us. Traditionally, that's been their thing.
Now, the problem is while they were doing this, they apparently got the records of several Robert Costellos around the country, including someone who is underage, so like somebody who's definitely not him age-wise, someone else who a FEMA employee in a different state, a younger one in a different New York City. So they knew who he was. They met twice. He met with the FBI twice. How did they not know which one he was? It's super easy to find out. I could find out who he was by getting on the computer and hitting Bing or DuckDuckGo and putting his name in and Steve Bannon and find out the law firm he's with. This isn't that hard. So I don't buy any of it. I think they're lying.
This one is LOL Ellen, the bitches. They really seem to be. Oh, whoa. We definitely got the wrong one here.
Yeah. He met with them virtually in November in an attempt to dissuade them from filing criminal charges against Bannon. But he said they turned it into an opportunity to turn me into a witness. I was making a legal presentation on a declination. I was certainly not advised that this was an FBI interview. Gee, who else did they do that to? Oh, Michael Flynn. Remember that? They did that to him too. I would never speak to the FBI without a lawyer. No way, Jose. I
wouldn't talk to any
not without
authority without an attorney. Police, FBI. No, not that I think anybody's shady, but I mean, you're in a legal situation. You've always should have an attorney.
I think it's shady. I wouldn't talk to them. Now listen to this. The Daily Beast last week detailed how the FBI targeted the private communications of several obviously wrong Costellos. Now, the DOJ now in court filings asked the judge to find out from the Daily Beast how they got that news and whether they received restricted documents. It's so funny that now they're worried about restricted documents being leaked out, but when Trump was president, they were handing them to the New York Times to print. Then nobody cared. Alexander Vindman was given privileged information from a phone call by someone, to this day we don't know who, and that was okay. We had an entire impeachment hearing based on it, and nobody had a problem with it. That was perfectly fine. Now all of a sudden, oh wait. Now the rules go into play. Now it's a problem. So I just have a problem with this. So we'll find out what happens with that. So I wanted to share that with you because I don't think a lot of people heard about that. So I wanted to share that with you. All right. A federal judge. Go back to January 6th because I was talking about January 6th with Jussie Smollett. These are not in order. For the second time in 8 days, U.S. District Judge Carl Nichols has dismissed a felony obstruction charge that alleged a January 6th defendant tried to prevent the certification of the Electoral College votes in the 2020 presidential race. He's ruling in the case of USA versus Joseph W. Fisher. that the statute used by the prosecutors does not apply to the allegations that were used against the defendants. So in other words, they just threw the book at these people, everything against these people, because they know that they will plead down to something small. And then they're like, oh, we got another one. Oh, we got another one. And then what they do is they'll tell you that, well, if you have any guns, you got to give them up because in exchange for pleading out of this, we'll drop the charges, but you can't have any guns. One woman had to write a letter to the judge renouncing her whiteness and denouncing Donald Trump. It's crazy what they're doing. What was that face for?
No, I'm saying that sounds a lot. Got to renounce your whiteness.
And apologize to Donald Trump, some poor grandmother. Yeah, excuse me, and trash Donald Trump. So the code that they used, a subsection of the U.S. Code, is meant to prevent tampering or destruction of documents and records, not alleged attempts to derail certification of the presidential election results. So the judge in a 10-page ruling dismissed count number 3 against this guy. Because like one guy's got 11 counts against him, another guy's got 7 counts against him. He also threw out the same charge on March 7th in the case of Garrett Miller of Richardson, Texas. He faces 11 charges. The guy's also asking, this Mr. Fisher is also asking the motion to dismiss counts 4 and 5 because they're charging everybody with being in the behavior on restricted buildings or grounds. But under U.S. Code, restricted means any posted, cordoned off, or otherwise restricted area of a building or grounds where the president or other person protected by the Secret Service is or will temporarily be visiting. So they're arguing that this doesn't apply because Mike Pence doesn't temporarily visit the Capitol. He has an office there.
Right.
So that doesn't apply. But what they should be going after, I'm not a lawyer, but there was no signage that said it was restricted. There's video of a guy with wire cutters systematically taking down the signs that around the fencing saying that this area is cordoned off. He took down the signs and then he systematically cut the chicken wire and rolled it up and threw it away. So there were no signs that said you can't come in here. The doors were being held open on one side by the Capitol Police. So there's nothing posted, cordoned off, or otherwise restricted, right? If you walked in and you stayed, there were people who stayed within the purple ropes on the red carpet to take pictures in Statuary Hall.
So who were the Capitol Police that were taking the stuff down?
It wasn't Capitol Police. There's a video. This person was there about 20 minutes before the crowd arrived, which was 20 minutes before Trump stopped speaking. So they sat there for at least 20 minutes and then started cutting everything down.
Plot thick.
Yeah, but they're not looking for them. Their faces are right there on the video. Nobody's looking for them. They're like Ray Epps. Nobody's looking for him either. It's a bunch of people no one's looking for. It's really weird. All right. Okay. I got one more piece of news and then we'll move on to other stuff. Okay.
All right.
All right. And by the way, we're going to ask you a question coming up. Feel free to, if you're watching on YouTube or Gitter or Facebook, if you type in something, a question or a comment, it will come up and we can put it on the screen. So you can answer our question. You can participate. We would love for you to participate. That's great. And please go to YouTube. And even if you don't have the link, just go to YouTube and just search on Mary Walter Radio and all the different videos will come up. You can go back and watch them. Some are better than others. Some are funnier than others. Okay. But just please subscribe to the channel. Like I said, I don't care if you never come back to the channel. Or if you just do it because you hate it so much, you have to watch it like a car wreck. Okay. Just subscribe to the channel, please. I don't send anything out. So I'm not going to send you anything like reminders or notifications or annoying, try to sell you Girl Scout cookies or anything like that. So it's really no obligation on your part. How's that?
I have lots of nicknames and you can make up a new one. And
Yes.
I'm okay with
it. You do love Dum Dum. You really do love that one.
I'm really
You what?
I answer to it.
I've never called you Dum Dum.
No, you have not. No.
I've called some of the things that you've done in the past dumb.
Oh yeah, and even stupid.
Yeah, that is true. I have.
And you were right.
Oh yeah, that's why I love you. Was you're like, yeah, I'm an idiot, but you confound me because you never change your behavior to
Something about,
prevent dumb things from happening again.
I'll tell you what makes me mad before real quick on the news, because we've sidebarred this enough. I will admit when I do stupid things. What makes me mad is when people are like, when I will always own up to things I do dumb. It gets me annoyed when people don't listen to me when I'm right. God, that makes me mad.
I understand that.
When I know
get
I'm right, especially when like I have facts and I'm laying them all out, a healthy argument, it's all like right there, and you just kind of like, I feel annoyed because man, I own up to when I'm wrong all the time. Like I'm the dumb. Here I am. I did it. Man, when I'm right, it's all laid out and there it is, and you're like, you just walk away. I'm like.
I understand that. That's annoying. I get it. I totally get it. People don't take you seriously. I understand that.
When I'm a dumb, boy, I'll own right up to it.
Yeah.
News
Yeah,
feed.
no, I understand that.
Back to
Frank says, why are they only going after the January 6th folks, but are not doing with the 2020 rioters that locked down the White House?
No, that's a long ass
What
question.
do you think? Wait, it's not that loaded. Why do you think that is,
No,
Frank? Come on, what do you think?
But they've jailed some of these people.
I
I'm not-
just,
I mean, I don't disagree with what he's saying. I'm sure some of these people have been jailed.
the 20, yeah, but a lot of them were let off. They were arrested and charged and let go, and then their charges were dropped. Like in Portland, most of the charges were dropped. There was someone who tried to stab a police officer. The charges were dropped.
Yeah, especially in the big cities.
Yeah. But it's because they're helping the party. They're on the right side of the aisle. We have a many tier justice system. We have the elites, and the elites are members of the party. They're members of the ruling class. They're members of Hollywood, or they're the foot soldiers for those groups, Antifa, Black Lives Matter, etc. So it is all about perpetuating the narrative, and as long as they're perpetuating the narrative and furthering the narrative, they get a free pass.
I almost think it's more laziness in some of these cities. I think the crime is still going on in these cities. They're just,
Oh, it is.
you go to LA, they're not prosecuting theft. They're not prosecuting a lot of things in LA. There's drugs everywhere. It's a cesspool.
But it's because, but I think Frank's asking. I'm sorry.
I'm saying even past the riots now. Like, I mean, it's a cesspool. I mean, you can walk into some stores in LA and just walk out with stuff, and nobody's going to prosecute you. I mean, they're not prosecuting robberies. They're not prosecuting a lot of pretty simple crimes. They're not even. They're just not.
Right, but see, if you create chaos, what they do is they create the problem, and then they swoop in to save the people from the problem. Right, like the people look to the government. Oh, please save me. Because it's a group generally on the left, going off on a total tangent here, in my humble opinion, and you could disagree with me, but on the left, they're less religious, so they're most likely to their higher power is they look to the government to solve their problems. They don't look at church, they don't look at prayer, they don't look inward. They're not as self-sufficient and self-reliant as conservatives are. You know, they can't pay their student loans back, but they think everybody should buy a $60,000 Tesla. They feel more than they think. I don't think they know how to think. I think whatever they feel is right is right. I feel that should be right, so that is right, because they were never taught how to think, because they've never been challenged. Especially, I sound old, but the younger generation has never been challenged. If we don't like a speaker on campus, if a campus speaker or a professor is saying something we don't like, we literally have a temper tantrum and they go away.
And yeah, that's happening a lot. I've definitely seen that.
Right. So, but now that they're out in the real world, they do the same thing. Look at the New York Times. Remember, Barry Weiss left the New York Times because the inmates were running the asylum. And she said, they don't like that I think Tom Cotton posted an op-ed, and the kids, the children, lost their minds about it, and they had to take it down. Like I think they got the editor fired because he dared to publish an op-ed by Tom Cotton, because the babies don't want to hear it. They're literally they're behaved like 3-year-olds.
We brought up a million times. The Joe Rogan thing's a classic example of what goes on with the far left compared to the middle left. I mean, Joe, Bernie supporter. I mean, didn't vote for Trump. He was a Bernie supporter, and they call him a far right white supremacist. He's like, I voted for Bernie Sanders. And
Did-
it's like, you could be so far from a Trump supporting white supremacist you could possibly be. And they're like, he's a far right white supremacist. He's like, I'm a comedian who voted for Bernie Sanders. But
had I known we were going to, sorry, your audio's breaking up again, babe. Sorry.
Oh.
If I can find it, I'll try to pull it up. Let me see if I can find it and pull it up. But did you see Trevor Noah, what he had to say? Because we're totally off on a tangent here.
Sure.
No,
That's our thing.
Trump.
By the way,
hold on a
he
second.
was like me in that way too. He was another one who would, say the things about Trump that were good and, talk about the things he didn't like Trump because he's a thinking human.
Yeah, I can't. Let me see if I can. Hold on. We're going to see if I listen to my husband and learn my lesson about how to transfer something onto here. We're going to find out if that works.
But that's supposed to be how we all are, right? We talk about the things we like about the politicians that are good and the things that are bad we don't. I'm not the big Trump guy, but I talk about the things I liked about him and the things I didn't. That's what we do. And then I talk about the other politicians about the things I like and the things I don't. Because I think.
Let me.
Got it?
Yes, I don't know how to get this to share. Share screen. Okay. Share. Let's see if this works.
Ooh, I see something.
Okay. See if this works and see if you can hear the audio. See if this goes through.
No audio yet.
No audio? Huh. I can hear it in my headset. All right. Well, he goes on. So I didn't learn anything from my husband. So there you go. So what Trevor Noah is saying there, it's on Jack Posobiec's Twitter account, Twitter feed, which is amazing. He goes on to say that Saudi Arabia wouldn't take Joe Biden's phone calls. Remember, they're totally blowing him off. So Saudi Arabia won't take Joe Biden's phone calls, and he goes on to say that what's happening right now never would have happened under Trump. Now, Trevor Noah is a guy who hates Trump. Trevor Noah can't stand Trump. He has been campaigning and talking crap about Trump and Russian collusion and all the lies. He's been red-pilled. He comes on and he says on The Daily Show that none of this would be happening under Trump because Trump was a little crazy, right? And it's so funny because I had this conversation with a friend of mine who doesn't like Trump. And I was like, the rest of the world thought Trump was crazy too. And I go, well, then the rest of the world got what they wanted. We went from Churchill to Chamberlain because Trump was mean. We need Chamberlain right now. We need Trump. Putin invaded countries under Bush, Obama, and Biden, but not under Trump. And the left goes, well, because they're in bed together. Well, that makes no sense whatsoever. Because if Trump's your buddy, that's when you know you're going to get a free pass from the United States. And so you go do whatever you want, right? If they were in bed together. Like, that's what you would do.
There's the Bolton argument that says in his second term, he would have pulled out of NATO, though, and he still would have done it. Because that would have been the plan. He would have he wouldn't have cared about Europe, and he would have I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying that the goal was to pull out of NATO so Putin could have done whatever he wanted anyway.
Yeah, well, I can see that, but at the same time, he strengthened NATO by making most of the countries start to pay their fair share. The delinquent countries, he made them pay up. He said, if you want to be a part of this organization, you need to pay.
And they needed to pay up.
Right. So if he wanted to weaken NATO, he wouldn't have forced them to pay. Right.
Right.
He just would have pulled out and NATO would have collapsed because the big payer was going.
Right.
So if he wanted to weaken NATO, that doesn't make any sense. Why would he strengthen NATO by making those other countries pay their fair share? So as much as I love John Bolton as a person, he's a wonderful man. I really like him. And he makes me laugh. So I do adore John. I like John Bolton in that sense. I don't like what he did when he left Trump, all the bitterness and everything else. I think some people are classless, and I think it was a classless move. But Trevor Noah said, Trump may be a little bit crazy, but Putin understood that. Putin understood that Trump would say to you, you do that, I'm going to destroy and then name a city. And he kind of thought Trump would.
That seems to be the prevailing worldview about it. Everybody on the planet that I've ever talked to said he might have hit the button.
So no, I don't think he would have hit the button. I think
you know,
he would have reciprocated in kind,
yeah,
though.
You know what I mean, though.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. So I think he would have reciprocated in kind. Now we have a guy that everybody takes advantage of. We've got Iran shooting Iran shooting weapons towards Iraq, or Iraq shooting weapons towards Iran. It's an N, it's a Q, whatever. But them shooting near the embassy, the American embassy. You've got North Korea acting up now. You've got China eyeing Taiwan. The world is on fire because no one fears Joe Biden
or Europe or NATO as a whole. Nobody fears NATO.
Right, or NATO as a whole.
NATO's a package. I mean, it's Biden is the leader per se, but I mean, it has no teeth, is what they're saying.
Right. But so if you get a chance, look up the Trevor Noah video on Twitter. I don't know why. Let me try it one more time. Hold on. Let me just try it one more time.
While you're trying it. Now, we are on the brink. I mean, there's no backing out.
I don't think so. I think, hold on. See if it could. Is it going? No?
I can read his lips, though. He just said it. Never would
He
happen.
said this never would have happened to Donald Trump. Never. Never. All right. Well, sorry about that. I tried again.
There's no getting. There's some red lines. We all know there's no getting around, though.
Trump. You mean Trump would have had red lines?
Well, I mean, there's red lines for NATO, too. I mean, we all know. I mean, they use chemical weapons. There's a few red lines there's no getting past.
Yeah. And Biden won't put a red line down. Obama did, but everybody just kept walking over it. So everybody knew Obama was feckless. He was worthless. And now you've got Biden won't even put a red line down because his overlords and his handlers haven't told him what that red line is yet.
And to answer Frank's question, again, I think Biden isn't just the one stopping it. All of these things are NATO agreed to. I'm sure the Germans are part of the decision with the planes and everybody else. They're all in this agreement. I mean, nobody's going to go. Biden doesn't just go. They all have this conversation.
And that may be true, that may be true. But Trump would say,
Poland, Europe goes to war. That's the thing. It's not just America goes to war. Europe goes to war. They're all part of the decision-making process for how to prosecute Ukraine. They don't just go, okay, well, we don't. That's why,
But Poland was in on it. Poland was like, yeah, let's do this. Right? So Poland's like, sure, let's do this. But even if what you're saying is true, and Germany's like, no.
I'm saying, they're all in discussions behind the scenes. They're all having some conversation about that. Even if Biden makes the final decision on some level, they're all in talks about, hey, how are we going to prosecute this situation? Nobody's just going to say, hey, we're going to be the ones to do it.
But here's my point.
One move, and every one of these countries is involved in World War III. It isn't just Poland against Ukraine. It's Europe against Ukraine. And by the way, also means we're involved because we're 53 miles from Russia on the other end of it. So it's not just Europe against them. Our back door is right against Russia too. So second front opens up immediately in the war.
My point is that had Trump been president, to what Trevor Noah was saying, if Trump were president under this, number one, we wouldn't be in this situation. But number two, if it got to that point and Germany said, no, we don't like this, Trump would have said, here's the deal. I'll provide you the oil, get off of the Russian teat. I will provide you with oil, and I'm sending those jets to Poland. I truly don't care what you think. And he would have thought it was the right thing to do. No one tells the United States what to do. And that's what he would have done. And he said, your concern is about oil? Fine. The United States is going to provide you with oil. There you go. Problem solved. And that would have been it. And he would have done. Joe Biden is not a leader. He's doing the Obama leading from behind BS, where he gets pushed by Congress and the media and the American people to take them out of that SMART or a START or whatever it was banking system, right? That's how that happened. He was against it. He put sanctions on them because everybody pushed for it. He's not going to Europe until a week from today. Do you know how many Ukrainians are going to die? Why couldn't his dopey ass, why couldn't they have just shuttled him in his pajamas onto a plane, given him a blankie? He wakes up in Europe or wherever, Brussels, wherever he's going to have his meeting. Why does it have to be next Thursday, 10 days away? Why? Everything with him is, well, we're going to think about it. And then, maybe a week or so from now, maybe we'll give them the MiGs. But I got to think about it. That's not leading. Everyone has to push him to do the right thing. He's leading from behind, which isn't leading at all.
What Frank's talking about is there's definitely countries like Poland that want in this war. There's countries that want in. They want to help Ukraine, and they want to get this out of here. They want this done. They want to
help Ukraine because if they don't, Russia's right next door.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he's not wrong. Frank's not wrong.
But I don't think they want in on the war. If Russia can go to China and ask for help, then why can't the Ukraine go to Poland or the United States and ask for help? Why is it a problem if we do? Russia goes, well, that's unacceptable. And Joe Biden goes, okay.
Well, by the way, don't you think that's the next red line? I mean, I have a feeling that if China enters the war in any capacity, that's the gloves off.
First of all, he's got mercenaries from Chechnya already fighting. And you're going to tell me we don't know? For all we know, China's supplying him with all sorts of armament and supplies and everything else for all we know.
No, they're not.
Yeah, exactly. No. And as long as Joe Biden doesn't know about it, it's okay, right?
Yeah.
So if China can do that, there's nothing wrong with us giving those MiGs to Poland. Ukrainian pilots come to Poland, take those MiGs and take off. It's not our pilots in the sky. We gave those jets to Poland.
Wasn't Russian pilots?
And here's the other thing. We don't have to talk about everything we're doing to the Ukraine. China does it on the down low. We have to have a press conference and tell the world what we're giving them. Why?
I'd like to think it's not our special forces anywhere in Ukraine either, but
I'm
hoping it is.
I'm hoping it is too.
Yeah,
I really am.
I have a feeling because you notice they're doing really well.
Well, we had apparently been over there training them for months.
Yeah, I don't think they left.
You're probably right. But I'm going to say this too, and you can think I'm crazy. You're a big history buff, and then we'll move on. But you're a big history buff, as am I. And I've been saying this all along. Everybody was counting the Ukrainians out. Russia's the second largest army. The Ukrainians can't win. They said the same thing. And I think we had this conversation, James, last week. The same conversation was had back in the 1700s with the American Revolutionary War. America was fighting the biggest army and navy in the world, and there was no way we could win, right? Yeah. And if you look what's happening now, and again, it's my religion coming out, the Catholic in me coming out. The weather has held the Russians up, right? The money conditions. There's been so much stuff that have held the Russians up that are just that. And the same thing happened in the American Revolutionary War, where the weather just broke the fog to cross the Delaware. Right? There's so many things that I'm sorry that there is a part of me that believes that there's a greater force at work here. And that's my Catholicism coming out, because I pray in the rosary every day to protect Ukraine. And of course, and now we've got Pope Francis, who's going to consecrate Russia to the Blessed Mother, which I think it was Lourdes, Fatima. The visions in Fatima said that Russia had to be consecrated to the Blessed Mother, or it was going to wreak havoc and war upon the earth. But problem with that is JP2 did it in 1984. And I don't know whether it didn't take, but Pope Francis is going to do it again. So
did you see that? I don't know if she's, I mean to cut you off, but you see the woman, I don't know if she's the leader of the Ukrainian opposition party, but she's a member at least of the opposition party in the Ukraine. And she was like, I know Zelensky and I have had many differences, but he is doing an incredible job, like a togetherness, and that like how it would have been as if as if Trump and I don't know, somebody from the Democratic Party just were like, and just there was no differences. You could just see and we're gonna crush the Russians was essentially like her speech. You could there's something amazing. I've heard different military people. I watch all those military podcasts.
Right.
You could just see there's something about a people that want freedom And I'm not saying no Iraqis did or no Afghans did, because that's a completely ludicrous statement to blanket policy. But when you live in countries that have lots of tribal differences and lots of ethnic differences and across a board, that's a hard way to introduce the concept of democracy and freedom, as opposed to a country that's not that they don't have ethnic or some differences, but is at least way more unified in the concept of democracy, right? They were already way farther along on the path of democracy. These people want democracy and want freedom, and they are fighting as a united people to get it.
Right.
With a one heart and mind. And they are just tooth and nail in every way, just giving it to the Russians, who are going over a border. In most cases, did you see some of these Russian prisoners? They're like, we came over with nothing. We didn't know we were at a border. We thought we were doing border duty. They came over with no GPS and no encrypted communications. They're picking up tons of their communications, and they're going, we didn't know where we were. Unless some of these people had been in the Ukraine before and knew where they were, they had no idea where they were. The first battle for them was like, what's going on? Their leaders told them nothing.
Yeah. Two things. Actually, three things. Hold on. I had to make a sign. So did you see what Legos is doing to raise money for Ukraine?
No.
They made a Lego version, a Lego man of Vladimir Zelensky. It's $10. And they made little Molotov cocktails out of Legos.
That's awesome.
Oh, so those are $10, and I think the Zelensky is like $50, whatever. The Zelensky is more expensive, and the little Molotov cocktails out of Legos are $10.
That's awesome.
Which I thought was fantastic.
Look, I've dealt with some real conspiracy people, and I realized there were a couple Russians that I was talking to. By the way, I called her a chomo, and I use TikTok as my other favorite word to call people. These are two TikToks from a show I watched. That's their way of calling people R-worded, because you can't call people R-worded. So they call them TikToks.
Okay.
And then chomo is for child molester, so you can't get it. You can't, Facebook can't jail me.
Right.
She corrected me when I called her a chomo, and she said it's like a chismet or something, some Russian word. And I'm like, well, thank you for teaching me a new Russian word. You also helped me in my assumption about who you were. And wait till you find out what a chomo is. And when she found out later, she called me very immature for calling her a chomo. But anyway, she said that the Ukrainians are actually bombing their own country and blowing up their own buildings. And she was just the thing that the Russians are going over there. They're peaceful people, and they're trying to kill the neo-Nazi Ukraine, or whatever her nonsense was. But, I don't think anybody should be lost on anybody. Of course, the Ukrainians are not perfect. They've had their own versions of corruption. They've done their own little versions of war crimes in the past. Look, they're not a perfect people by any stretch of the imagination, but they don't deserve what's going on in their country now. Just being slaughtered by cattle. Having their city.
No, I agree. I agree with all that. Just a couple of. No, I agree. All right. So now I've got four things. So hold on.
Go ahead.
To Frank's point here, they need all the bishops to be with the Pope. JP2 did the whole world, not just Russia. However, what JP2 did in 1984, Frank, Lucia was the only surviving child from Fatima who said that it satisfied the requirements of the letter. So Lucia, who actually got the letter from the Blessed Mother, got the instructions, said, yeah, we're good to go. So I'm going to go with her as to what she said. Did you see, when you were talking about a whole country fighting together, the grandmothers who were staying behind, who were just like, I'm making Molotov cocktails and I'm throwing them. And that's what they're doing. Good for them.
Yeah.
What cracks me up, though, the last thing I want to say about this, because we've got a lot to cover yet. The last thing I want to say about this is that the Democrats and the liberals crack me up, because they're okay. First of all, we're spending $30 million, whatever we're sending over there. We have to borrow that money from the Chinese because we don't have it to send to them. All right. So we're doing that, which makes no sense whatsoever, when we just give them the dopey MiGs, which we ain't using. Poland's going to give them, and then we'll let Poland buy new planes from us. Okay. At least we get something in the deal. Trump, Biden and Obama sent them blankets in 2014. Trump sold them defensive weapons. Sold them. We made money in the deal because he's a businessman. Not one dime will the Democrats spend to protect our border. But yet we're going to spend millions and millions and millions, tens of millions of dollars to protect Ukraine's border. Just saying. And the fact that we're so far in debt that kids, I think it's an American child now was born something like, I don't know, $10,000 in debt. There's a number already when they come out of the womb because of the debt that we already have. And we're just going to borrow money from the Chinese to give to the Ukraine. Why can't Ukraine just go get the money from the Chinese themselves? Why does that have to come through us? I feel like I'm co-signing on a loan for my irresponsible 18-year, my 16-year-old kid or something.
Yeah, that's very
So,
strange. Hey,
yeah.
your audio's a little wacky.
My audio's wacky?
Yeah.
Well, okay.
That'll-
Somebody write in the comments if my audio's wacky, because yours has been wacky the whole time. So yours has been very like that. So somebody post here, Frank or Bill or Phil or whoever, just post and let us know if my audio is wacky, because if it is, I'll just pop out and come back in again. So, all right. One more piece of news, and then we're moving on to other things that people can comment on. The New York Times has finally confirmed that Hunter Biden's laptop is Hunter Biden's laptop. Congratulations, kids.
Thank you for saying what we all already knew.
My audio is real bad. You're sounding like a robot. Okay, so I guess I have to leave you and come back, right?
I would think
How
so.
do I do that?
That is strange. I don't know how you do that.
How do I do that? What is this?
Earbuds off and turn them back on. Maybe.
Okay.
So that is fascinating, though, that finally the New York Times is coming out saying something that we all already know. It was a laptop. Laptops are real easy to track and trace. It's not rocket science. We've known how to track laptops by their IP address for, I don't know, since computers were invented pretty much. So the fact that they're finally coming out and admitting that that was that laptop is really pretty fascinating. But that's what happens when you have rich people connect politicians. Of any party, you can get away with anything. They're rich people. So I'm never really shocked when rich people try and get away with nonsense, and that, people who are, inside with them use their power to help them cover it up. It's usually how it works. This stuff never shocks me. Just never does. I'm not hearing you now, Mary. I see your lips moving, though, so I see you're trying to do something. No, I don't hear you.
Now you do.
Now I do.
All
Love
right.
it.
Better?
You sound great. Yeah. Can anybody tell me if I sound?
It sounds like you suddenly aged to 80 years old. Thanks, Jerry. Um,
Do I sound okay? Am I still wacky?
no, you're okay. It's just that you every now and then cut in and out.
Okay, good.
Well, it's the internet at the station.
Yeah. Okay. I jumped off the internet at the station. So, because before that's when they said I sounded really terrible.
Yeah. So now it says here, did not Hunter's partner come out and state this as well? Yeah, of course. But this was all about the New York Times. They, like with Sarah Palin, we didn't purposely slander her. It was our mistake. We just made a mistake. Everyone on the left, when they get caught, did you ever notice they just made a mistake and they're so dumb? They have no clue what anyone's talking about. Barack Obama spent 8 years being the most clueless person in America. Had no idea anything was going on. He didn't know anything about the IRS being weaponized against conservative groups. I found out about it by watching the news like the rest of you. He knew nothing. Joe Biden, I honestly believe, knows nothing. But the New York Times, they sat there and said it was Russian disinformation in September of 2021. September. What's that, 6 months ago?
Yeah.
They said that the New York Post reporting on the laptop was unsubstantiated, still carrying the water. The editorial board of the Post on Thursday, because now it's come out because he's being investigated, and the New York Times reported on the investigation into Hunter Biden. This is what tells me that the Democrats are getting ready to dump Biden and throw him under the bus, because now the New York Times is reporting on the investigation into Hunter. They said that his taxes and his international business dealings, that's what they're looking into, this investigation. Noted prosecutors had examined emails between Biden and some business associates that, quote, appear to have come from a laptop abandoned by Mr. Biden in a Delaware repair shop and were authenticated by people familiar with them and with the investigation. Yeah, like 2 years ago. The FBI had it in 2019 and sat on it to cover it up. But they don't care because there's no repercussion for their lies. There's no repercussion for them covering up to influence an election. They got Biden in, which is what they wanted. That's all that matters. And they're not going to be punished. There's going to be no repercussion. So all's good with the world. And it's going to continue and perpetuate and go on and on and on. And we're going to see this song over and over and over again. It's exactly what's going to happen. So if you read the New York Times and that's your only source of information, you just found out that, hey, Hunter Biden had a laptop that had porn and other weird stuff on it that incriminated Joe Biden, or seemed to appear to implicate his dad, Joe Biden. So there's that.
Oh,
so welcome to the party.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I was supposed to put on my shock face. I'm sorry, I didn't.
No. All right, let's move on because we got a lot to cover. So let's just go quickly. So James, tell us about your James in the car story. We're out of the news part of the show.
All right. So I took my car to get a oil change. I won't name the place, but let's just say it rhymes with Johnny Depp. You know, oi. No, somebody will figure it out. Doesn't matter. It's not important. So I got my car, and the next day I was at the crack of dawn covering a shift here, very, very early in the morning, and I'm driving up the highway, and I start hearing a disgusting knocking sound. I mean, it sounds like a rod knock, and my car starts acting really bad. And then smoke starts coming from my car, and as I pull over, it shuts down. And as I get out of my car, there's no oil in my car. It's a giant puddle under my car. And as I look back behind my car, it's in a long trail against the setting sun. It's actually a beautiful picture.
Is that the picture?
Setting sun.
Is that picture you sent me?
Yeah, the rising sun of the oil. Yeah, that's the oil trail.
I didn't know what that was.
Yeah, that's that picture I sent you. Yeah, that's oil for about a mile or so. See the car headlight, the rising sun? That's oil from my car.
Oh my gosh. Can anybody see this?
Yeah.
Can you see that or not?
The rising sun, the oil, that's about 5:15 in the morning. Yeah, I was due into work to cover somebody's shift. Now, I did not make the work. No.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what happened? Did you go back to the company and say
I towed twice because you can't use AAA on the expressway. So the nice expressway tow truck comes to get you, tows you to, in this case, a Wawa, and then the AAA comes to get you.
Oh my God.
And then now I have this place saying, well, it's not our fault. Turns out, nope, the filter didn't fall off or the plug didn't pop. So they're saying it was catastrophic engine failure. And my Nissan dealership, where my car is under warranty, is saying, no, they probably put not enough oil or too much oil in the car.
So you're stuck in the middle. It's like construction in this house. The people who supply the product, like say windows, replacement windows, they come in. Long story short, none of them were marked. We had to go out there, figure everything out. But now we've got the contractors putting them in, and the contractor's like, this doesn't fit. I'm like, well, that's the measurement you gave me. Literally the measurement you gave me. Well, that's not the size of this window. No, it is the size of the window. Well, they made it wrong. And we're stuck in the middle.
Yeah, Frank's right. First, both tow people were like, I wonder if it's the filter or the plug, or maybe the gasket. That sometimes the gasket gets stuck on the filter, and if they don't check, they put the new filter over the old gasket, and that flows through that. But that's where it looked like it was coming out through that way. Just happens to be it wasn't. It turns out, so either not enough oil or too much oil, or could be old. They're trying to say maybe old sediment because the guy previously maybe didn't change enough of the oil. So I mean, it's both companies. But look, these are two major multi companies who can afford to fix this problem without a big issue, but neither wants to give way, and they both want to blame the other company. So I just want to drive my car through both buildings, and but I can't do.
Why don't you get on social media and make a big deal about it?
Oh, I already told both of them I'm going to be talking about it on air pretty soon and name both companies and be really unhappy about it. I mean, Nissan already knows. I don't really think it's Nissan. I can't.
You think it's the oil place, right?
Because we've had an employee here who had the same problem. where they overfilled her car. And I have a buddy, my bestie, worked at this company, and he's like, yeah, it happens there all the time. Honestly, they've admitted to me that it's happened to them before, and they're like, we have insurance for this. If it was that, we would take care of it, but we don't think it's us. We think it's just a bad coincidence, and it's catastrophic engine failure.
So did you bring the paperwork from Nissan and go, no, it is not catastrophic engine
Well,
failure. Here's the paperwork from Nissan.
This just happened yesterday.
Okay.
Today, hours ago, told me that you're going to have to go back to the other company and tell them.
Yeah.
So by tomorrow, I think we're going to have some. I'll have some news. My buddy, our buddy Scotty, he wants to get involved like a dog with a bone.
Because he's a lawyer.
Let's go.
He's a lawyer. I was going to say, you need a lawyer. Scotty, it's great.
He was shaking. He was so ready. He was like, oh, let's go.
Oh, God. All right. Well, we'll get an update next week because we will do a show next week because I don't know. I can't go anywhere. So I'm kind of bound. Here are my crutches. See? With me everywhere I go.
You're not kidding. How are you feeling, though? Feeling any better?
Moving? Yeah. Oh, geez.
I
break a lot. I'm sorry?
You were allowed to do the bend, right?
Yeah. So I went to the doctor on Monday and my leg had been straight because nobody knew what was torn, what wasn't torn, what was broken, what wasn't broken. It was a suspected break. No, we didn't know what was going on in there. So for a week, for 10 days, I had my knee in an immobilizer straight out. Can't put any weight on it. Crutches, the whole bit, not going anywhere. It was really horrible. So the intense pain after I did it went away. So I'm not like taking the Vicodin or anything like that anymore. I'm one of those people who'd be like, I'll just take half. Yeah. I don't need a full one. I'll just take half. So I'm not taking that anymore. I'm on like Naproxen, Motrin type stuff now for anti-inflammatory. But so I finally got to go to the doctor, got my MRI in, and it is broken, the tibia. But it's the top of the tibia, which was what he thought from looking at the x-ray, the top of the tibia where your knee bone rests.
Ooh.
So you can't put weight on it, because if you put weight on it, you can, because it's not like a piece can break off, of course. And if a piece breaks off, you need to have surgery because you can't have the piece floating around in there, because so tink, 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 and it winds up down by your ankle. So it's not good. So it's not displaced, which is really good news. That's fantastic news. It's not displaced. And it happens to be a little bit more towards the back. So he's letting me very lightly put a little bit of weight on it. When I use my crutches, I can put my foot down now. So I'm also now allowed to bend it to get my range of motion, because I didn't tear my ACL. I did not tear my LCL. I didn't tear either one of my ligaments.
Love it.
Because I'm stupid, ridiculously hyper flexible. Like I can take my elbow across like this. And
wow.
I can't do it because my ponytail's in the way, but I can get my elbow to come out over here. But my ponytail's in the way, so I can't do it right now. But anyway, so I can, like do stuff like this. But anyway, and I can like dislocate my hip at will and all that kind of stuff. So I'm stupid, ridiculously flexible. So because of that, and that's given me a ton of problems throughout my life. Tons of problems, surgeries and everything else, because shoulders don't stay where they're supposed to be. I've had shoulders put back, the whole bit. Apparently, when my knee went to the out sideways, my right knee went to the right instead of forward. It went to the right. The tendon ligaments just went, and they just went out and came back in. But when it came back in, it hit hard, and that's what broke the joint there.
Ooh.
So, but it's good. It's all good news.
Yeah.
I'm so blessed. I'm so lucky. As of right now, no surgery. He did see a meniscal tear. So my meniscus is torn, but because when they took the MRI, it was still really swollen and still fluid, a lot of fluid in there. So you couldn't really see how badly it was torn, but it's not like you could see the piece, but there's not like a dislodged piece. There's not a piece. It's not like really hanging down. So he thinks if I stay off it, if I do what I'm supposed to do, that it'll just heal on its own. So fingers crossed for healing on its own. However, because he knows me, so I'm in his office and he goes, all right, so he wanted me to get the crutches that like go around your forearm and you hold on to, like Tiny Tim had, right? because you can do a lot of stuff with them. Like you can hang them up. You could they just stay where so they don't go flying around like these. You don't get the rash and you don't get this under your arms and all that stuff. So I said to him, I go, I'm not getting no, I'm not getting those crutches. Like, ew, right? I don't know. Like there's something about them that I feel like I don't know. Like I have them forever. So I'm sticking with these. And she goes, so you're going to come back April 11th. Until then, same routine. No weight bearing, but you put your foot down on the ground now, and you have to do your range of motion exercises. I'm like, he goes, because, I want 6 weeks, 6 weeks to start. And I'm like, 6 weeks. I'm like, oh, he said a month. He goes a month. And I said a month. I go, well, I have a week and a half in. So I only have 2.5 more weeks. And then I'm done. He goes, okay, so I know you because I've known him forever and he took care of my broken arms. He goes, I know you. And so if you go for another month, you're 6 weeks into like a minimum of 3 months. I'm like, what? What? So I went online. You break your tibia, like especially the top there. It's 3 months to start.
Yeah,
3
I was
months, James.
long time for mine. I remember that. Yeah.
3 months.
Yeah, I told you I split mine. It was a long time.
I didn't split mine. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
3 months. Ugh. So I'm taking my vitamin D. I'm doing everything I can to try to make it heal faster. So that's my update. Okay, very quickly, the Senate unanimously passed a bill to make daylight saving time permanent. So that would be dark. So that means it's going to be dark in the morning here on the Northeast, like the East Coast. When you get up in the morning, it's going to be dark till about 7:15, 7:30, depending where you are, as late as 8 o'clock in the morning in the months of like November, December, January. It's the Sunshine Protection Act. It was introduced by Marco Rubio in March of 2019. And they're saying it's really good to have more sun during the day. Well, we'll have more sun during the day as opposed to the sun going down at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon in December. It's dark here, right?
Yeah.
And they also cited, and now I hate springing ahead. Now, this year, it's not so bad for me because I am gainfully unemployed. But when I was doing the morning show, like last year, I normally got up when I was in DC at 3 o'clock in the morning to be to work at 4. I had to get up. So it was the equivalent of getting up at 2 a.m. And then when I'm trying to go to bed at 7 o'clock at night, there's kids screaming and yelling in the street. It's bright out. Like you don't feel like you should go to bed. It's really hard because I'm trying to go to sleep when it's light. So that's going to be a hard thing to constantly trying to go to bed when it's light out. For a lot of people, I think that's hard, right? Like, I don't know if that's very good for you. But they say the rate of heart attacks spiked by 24% in the days following spring forward in March. This is according to the University of Michigan. Another study found in 2016 that stroke rates increased by 8% after we spring ahead. Year-round daylight saving time would decrease the likelihood of fatal car accidents, which jumped 6% in the days following the time change. So, I don't like falling behind at all. I don't like the time change. I'm a proponent of just pick a flipping time and stick with it.
Yeah, me too. I never understood the concept at all. I used to hear old wives' tales for farmers, and I actually knew farmers. They're like, that's a crop.
That's a load of crap. Like,
Yeah.
I get that people want more time when they get home from work to be able to do stuff. But by the same token, they also say that it's very healthy when you get up in the morning and you see the sun, it gets you going. If it's dark when you're getting up, it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like you should be getting up. And then if you're trying to go to bed when it's light out, it's all messed up.
Well, it's because we invented this artificial number time system that doesn't work with the way the sun works. If we had just shifted our bodies to go flow the way time works, things would have worked better. But we made this artificial clock that says you have to be fixed to these times. Right? Our jobs are based off this number system.
It's so dumb.
So
well, I'm never doing it.
We had to move the time to follow the sun.
Well, I'm never doing another morning show as long as I live, unless they're paying me an insane amount of money and I get to do it from home. Otherwise, I'm never doing it again. So I'm not worried about it. And right now, I don't have a job. So there is that. All right, very quickly, let us know how you would feel about this. if you had to get the vaccine in order to keep your job, how would you feel if your company was now allowing unvaccinated former coworkers to come back to work? People
Oh,
who left because they didn't want to be vaccinated, they didn't want the vaccine, so they left. But you were in the position of, well, if I want to feed my family, then how am I going to do this? So you got the vaccine that you didn't want to get, 2 shots, maybe a booster. And now your company says, wow, well, we need employees, and they're loosening everything up. So you can come back if you didn't get vaccinated and you want your job back. How would you feel about that? Tell us in the comments, and they'll come up here and we will read them to you. We'll respond to them. How would you feel, James?
I don't know. I already think I'm a slave, so I probably would have been one of those people who got the vaccine to stay at the job. You know, I might have got on the train. You know what I mean?
Some
So,
people didn't have a choice.
yeah. So, I don't know. I might have run into the woods instead of getting on the train, aka I might not have gotten the shot and ran away and done something else. Like we have an employee here who has been looking for jobs. She has a real problem because she can't get she's one of the ones who can't get the vaccine for a condition.
Mm-hmm.
But that's making it impossible for her to get a job. So imagine now you get to a situation where now they're starting to get let. I mean, I just would be. I'm with Bill. I mean, his comment. I would be mad as hell.
I would too.
Mad as hell doesn't even cover it. I mean, it's a betrayal, is what it is. It's not even mad. It's a real betrayal. But again, we're probably talking about corporate companies, right? I doubt it's probably not going to be a business with 20 employees. Because if it is with 20 employees, you can go in and just punch your boss in the face. So,
Well, it didn't apply.
I'm not-
It didn't apply to businesses with 20 employees because COVID only affects companies with 100 employees or more. If you have
Right.
99, COVID doesn't affect you.
Right. So if you're at a big major corporation and you find this out, like you don't really have any recourse to begin with. So you just have to take it and take it. I don't know. Like you want to think about finding a way to sue the company. You certainly want to find a way to get another job. I'm sure of that. Especially while there's still a lot of jobs out there. I would immediately be looking for another job.
Mm-hmm.
I'd immediately be trying a way to get a better job.
I would too. To Frank's point, if they have natural antibodies or not, no problem. But here's the thing is they never gave any credence to natural antibodies. So people who got COVID were still forced to get the vaccine, whether they wanted to or not. They're still forced to get our healthcare workers are still being forced to get boosters, whether they want to or not. Because like, especially in New Jersey, where our governor has decreed yet another emergency because we're still in a COVID emergency in New Jersey because our governor won't give up any power.
Want to hear nonsense? But I'll weigh in on this one. I need a Social Security card. I lost my wallet during the pandemic. Okay, so I lost my Social Security card. I still can't get into the Social Security office without, ready for this? See if I still have it. I need an appointment. And not only did I need an appointment, you know what they handed me? This is the Social Security office to get my Social Security card. This is the government. I'm going to show you what they handed me. Okay. Look, a piece of paper, handwritten piece of paper with a phone number to call.
Yeah.
Handwritten piece of paper from the government. Handwritten piece of paper. The government handed me a handwritten note with a number on it to call. They said, call early. It'll take you a couple hours to get an appointment.
All right. Let me ask you a
Not even
question.
a card, nothing printed. I got a handwritten note from a government agency to call so I could get my Social Security card in New Jersey. In New Jersey.
Let me ask you a question. Why did you have your Social Security card in your wallet?
Where else do you keep your Social Security card?
In a lockbox, in a fireproof lockbox in the house.
That sounds pretty smart.
Along with my passport and everything else, in case there's a fire, it's fireproof. And birth certificate, everything else is in there, and it locks. I mean, if anybody wants to get in there, they can unlock it. If they want to steal, all that stuff, I guess they possibly could. But
it is.
I'm sorry.
My birth certificate is in that fireproof lockbox. I never thought to keep my Social Security card there, though.
Yeah, because you never have to show your Social Security card anywhere. So now someone has your Social Security card and your driver's license. Way to go, James. Way to go, buddy. Did you include your mother's maiden name just to make it easy for him?
Well, let me tell you how it is. I always tell people, if you want to help me right now, I may as well give you my social security number, because if you can go get a credit card in my name, you'd be doing me a favor. You can go out and rack up some credit for me, please. Go right ahead. Because the dumb criminal that goes out and tries to steal my identity is going to be like, wow, that was just a waste of my 15 minutes. You're really not going to get far.
I know, but you got, James, come on, you're an adult. You got to be a little bit more responsible. I know we have this conversation all the time, literally every week. But so apparently
that was
JP Morgan Chase. Apparently, JP Morgan Chase announced this week that it's going to lift their ban on hiring individuals who are unvaccinated, according to a memo.
Oh, it's so horrible.
In addition to lifting the ban on hiring unvaccinated individuals, they reported that the company will end mandatory testing for employees who are unvaccinated beginning April 4th. So at least they didn't fire those employees, right? Employees will no longer be required to report COVID-19 cases, and the offices will become voluntary for both vaccinated and vaccinated staff, effective immediately. So they're going to they're going to, you can come into the office or you can work from home remotely, which I think a lot of companies, I thought more companies would do it than did do it. Like for me, the station that I was at, they were like, everyone has to come back full time, 5 days a week. You've got to be in studio, blah, 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 blah. Which to me was such horseshit, because we were working remotely for 14 months and had some of the best ratings the station had in 30 years. So, why do I have to be back here full time, right? Like I was willing to do I'll come down for a week, but then no, which honestly, I think they were just trying to cut a salary. I think that was just their way of cutting a salary and saying, look, she's not going to come back full time. We know she's not going to come back full time. This way she's going to say no, and then it's on her terms, and see you later, sister. So I think that's what actually what went down. But the other part of it is I would have wound up leaving anyway, because our parent company insisted on everyone getting vaccinated if you wanted to keep your job. And I wouldn't have done it. I would have walked. I wasn't going to do it. I'm pretty sure I had COVID back in March of 2020. But at the time, my husband, the ICU doctor, was like, can you breathe? And I said, yes. He goes, well, then fine. Good for you. You take the pulse ox, take my oxygen. And he was like, you're not going anywhere near the hospital, which was the only place you could get tested, is if you showed up in the ER. And I could breathe. And they didn't have that many testing kits at the time. And then I got it again. So I'm done. I'm not, now we know that you have antibodies, something for like 20 months now. They're still following people who still have the antibodies after having COVID. So I'm not going to get a vaccine I don't need just to make some corporate yo-yo who's scared happy. I'm not doing it.
What about people who are fired from their jobs?
I know.
What if those companies hire people back now without vaccines? That potentially is a lawsuit, right? I assume that's going to potentially be a lawsuit.
I doubt it.
I don't know. I think a pretty litigious lawyer.
They're going to argue that we were using the science at the time, and that was the guidance coming from the government. And they're going to blame it on the government. The government mandated this because we have more than 100 employees. So it was mandated by the government. We didn't have a choice. And there's their get out of jail free card from any kind of lawsuit. Maybe. So because if you got the vaccine under duress because you didn't want it, and you were forced to get it in order to feed your family, if you end up having myocarditis or some other problem that they're going to, there are going to be side effects and lawsuits coming up from these side effects. And you're like, yeah, you forced me to get it. And look what happened to me. They're going to we didn't force you to get it. The government did. And you can't sue the government. Sorry. And you're out of luck. So for one, employees working in New York City are required to continue to abide by the city's COVID-19 rules. And of course, in New Jersey, where Governor Murphy will never get rid of power, Governor Chompers, he'll never get rid of power because we'll always be in a COVID emergency. So he can continue to do that. All right. Well, listen, if you're watching us on YouTube, or even if you're not, please go to YouTube, look up Area Walter Radio, put it in the search bar. It comes right up. Please, please, please subscribe to the page. It doesn't cost you anything, and it doesn't obligate you to watch, although we would love for you to watch. That would be great. I have to go feed the cats because they're going to jump up here in 2 seconds. But next week, I'm going to show you samples for my porch for cushions, and maybe we could decide what I should do.
Cool.
All right. I'll have to get a copy of the paint color though. I don't know how I'm going to do that. I'll have to figure out how I can do that so we can make an informed decisions, and maybe people can vote on what I'm going to do as far as the paint colors on the porch here. Oh, Jerry said, I had to apply to renew my New Jersey driver's license today. The form has my name, my address, my social security number, my driver's license number, a banking account number because I pay with a check. Isn't that a nice little ID theft package if someone should decide to pluck that out of the mailbox? They mailed it to you? Oh, man.
That's mad.
Unbelievable. Jerry, don't worry. The good public union workers in the state of New Jersey would never take that information and sell it. Never, because we pay them so much. There's no reason for them to do that. That's insane. That's crazy. I didn't want to give them my social security number when that first started in New Jersey. I'm like, why? Why would you have my driver's license number and my social security number? Again, why don't we just slap my mother's maiden name on the card and call it a day? And Bill says, how come it was never reported if you were O negative blood type, you were least likely to get COVID? I don't know. Probably because there's a lot of things that were never reported with COVID.
Yeah.
So. My hunch is Bill is O negative. That's my hunch here. I could be wrong. So, all right. Thank you for joining us, James. Good luck. You'll give us an update next week on your car, James's car trials and tribulations. We want to know from you guys. Seriously, please leave comments if you're on the Facebook page, whatever, if you're on the Facebook group page. Yeah, he just said, yes, I am. Oh, negative. We want to know, like, do you want more news? Do you want less news? Do you want more like fun stuff? Like positives and negatives. We want to make the show something that you want to watch, that you want to participate in.
Would you recommend
so please give us feedback. I'm sorry?
Would you recommend us to your friends?
Yes. Would you recommend us to your friends? If so, please do. And hopefully next week I'll still be wearing the Villanova cap or something that says Villanova on it. Can you see? Oh, hold on. There we go. Is it easy to see?
Ta-da!
Villanova alumni. Oh, wait. I haven't done this yet, this show. Hold on. I can't do it on the computer because you can't hear the audio. So I have to do it here. Hold on. One quick thing. Oh, no, that's not it. It would help if I turned the audio up on this, right? Oh. Okay. Where is it? Okay, ready? All right. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks for joining us. We will see you next Thursday around 7:15 Eastern time. And again, send me messages letting me know what you like, what you don't like, and what you want to see more of. James, thank you. Good luck with your car. Bye, honey.
See ya.